The sun had just begun its slow descent behind the jagged mountains of Eldoria, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold. In the quiet village of Thalwen, tucked away between dense forests and roaring rivers, 12-year-old Remy was restless. He wasn't like other kids in the village. He was curious, adventurous, and always chasing the unknown. For weeks, the villagers had whispered about the sealed gate hidden deep in the Eldorian forest. Ancient stories said it had been built by beings from long before humans walked the earth. No one had seen it open in centuries. Some claimed it was cursed. Others believed it was guarded by spirits who punished the curious. But to Remy, it was irresistible, a puzzle waiting to be solved. He had heard the stories countless times. Don't touch it. Remy, the sentinel, watches his grandmother warned every time he brought it up. But warnings only fueled his curiosity. One afternoon, armed with nothing but a small satchel of snacks and his father's old compass, Remy slipped out of his home. The forest greeted him with the smell of wet earth and pine, the soft crunch of leaves under his boots, and the distant calls of unseen animals. He followed a narrow, winding trail that twisted and turned, sometimes leading him to clearings, sometimes to thick brambles that scratched at his arms. Hours passed and the sun began to dip lower. Finally, he found it. The sealed gate was taller than any building in Thalwen, carved from black stone that seemed to swallow the fading light. Strange runes glowed faintly across its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. Remy approached cautiously, awe and fear warring inside him. He circled the gate, marveling at its detail. There were symbols he didn't recognize, spirals, stars, shapes that seemed alive. And at the center, embedded into the stone, were two enormous emerald-like eyes, closed and unmoving. A chill ran down his spine. Looks like someone's taking a nap, Remy whispered, his voice barely audible over the wind. He reached out and tapped one of the cold, glassy eyes with his finger. At first, nothing happened. Then, a soft rumble shook the ground. The runes around the gate shimmered, and a faint whisper filled the air. "Who dares awaken me?" The voice boomed, echoing in every corner of the forest. Remy froze. The eyes, those enormous green eyes, slowly opened. They glowed with an inner light, revealing shapes and colors that no human had ever seen before. The forest seemed to hold its breath. I was just joking," Remy stammered. His heart pounded. His hand trembled as he tried to pull back. The sentinel, a massive, stone-like creature with eyes that could see through time, rose slowly from the gate. Its body was etched with ancient runes that shimmered as it moved. It towered over Remy, its gaze piercing into his very soul. "You were not meant to touch the gate," said, voice like rolling thunder. "Yet you have." Remy swallowed hard. I didn't mean." The sentinel raised a massive stone hand, pointing toward him. The forest grew darker, shadows twisting unnaturally. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through Remy's bones. He felt small, insignificant, and yet strangely exhilarated. "You have awakened the Watcher," the sentinel continued. "And now the path of your destiny begins." Remy's mind raced. Destiny. Watcher. He had only wanted to play a joke. And yet, the gate was alive. Not a joke. Not a myth. Alive. "Wait, what do you want from me?" Remy asked, his voice barely steady. The sentinel tilted its head, eyes glowing brighter. "To walk through the gate, one must prove their courage. Many have failed. Few have been chosen. Are you ready, child of curiosity?" Remy hesitated. 1,000 thoughts ran through his mind. He could run back to the safety of his village. He could pretend this never happened. But something deep inside him, the same curiosity that had led him here, whispered, "This is what you were born for." I think I am," he said, his voice trembling but firm. The sentinel's eyes glimmered like molten emerald. Slowly it stepped back, and the massive gate began to creak open, revealing a swirling vortex of light and shadow inside. The air smelled metallic, like charged electricity, and the temperature shifted suddenly, warm one moment, freezing the next dot as Remy stepped closer. He felt a pull, as if the gate itself was breathing, inviting him in. He looked back once at the forest, the safety of the familiar village calling him. Then he turned, stepping through the swirling portal. In an instant, the forest vanished. Light, shapes, and colors unlike anything Remy had ever seen surrounded him. The world stretched, twisted, and expanded. He was no longer just a boy in a forest, he was something new. Something on the threshold of discovery. And somewhere, deep within the gate, the sentinel's eyes watched him. Patient and eternal. Remy had no idea what awaited him. But one thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. Remy blinked rapidly as the swirling colors around him began to settle. The sensation of falling nor flying through the portal left him dizzy. But when he finally landed, his feet touched soft, glowing ground. He looked around, wide-eyed, and realized he was no longer in the forest. The place was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Towering crystalline structures stretched toward a sky filled with shifting lights, like auroras dancing in slow motion. Rivers of liquid silver ran through valleys that glowed faintly in the dark. Strange plants with luminous petals swayed gently, though there was no breeze. And in the distance, massive silhouettes moved, creatures of every imaginable shape. Some familiar, some alien, all watching him with silent curiosity. Remy swallowed hard. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself, taking cautious steps forward. The sentinel's voice echoed again, though it was softer now, like a memory carried on the wind. "This is the threshold, child. Few who enter the gate survive the world beyond it. Few return. Courage will be your only guide." Remy's heart raced. "Survive, return," he murmured. He realized then that this wasn't just a game, a joke, or a story. This was real and dangerous. He walked forward, marveling at the world. The ground beneath him pulsed lightly, almost like it was alive. Every step he took sent ripples through the glowing floor. Strange creatures peered from behind the crystalline towers. Some looked like giant insects with transparent wings that shimmered like glass. Others resembled massive cats, but with eyes that held galaxies inside them. They observed him silently, neither hostile nor welcoming, just aware. Remy's first instinct was to explore, but instinct alone wasn't enough. He needed a plan, or at least a sense of direction. He remembered the compass in his satchel and pulled it out. The needle spun wildly, pointing in no particular direction. "Great," he muttered. "It doesn't work here." Suddenly, the ground shook beneath him. Crystalline dust rose in spirals around his boots. A deep, low growl echoed from behind one of the towers. Remy froze. The shadow moved swiftly, and before he could react, a creature emerged. It was massive, its body a swirling mix of stone and light. Eyes glowing with the same emerald green as the sentinel. "You are far from home, boy," it rumbled. Its voice was deep, resonating in his chest. "And yet, you walk freely." Remy swallowed hard. I mean no harm. I just touched the gate." The creature's gaze pierced him. "Ah, the child who awakened the sentinel. Few have such audacity. Or luck." Remy's mind raced. "The sentinel. It sent me here." The creature nodded slowly. "Yes. And now your trial begins. There is a balance in this world. Some are keepers, some are hunters, and some are lost to curiosity. You are neither hunter nor lost yet, but the balance will test you." Remy's stomach churned. "Test me? How?" The creature gestured toward the horizon. "Beyond the valley lies the Labyrinth of Echoes. Only by crossing it will you understand the gate's purpose. Many have entered. Few have returned. Courage alone will not suffice. You must also have wisdom." Remy hesitated. He wanted to turn back, to run, but something inside him pushed forward. That same curiosity that had led him to the gate now urged him onward. "I'll go," he said finally, his voice trembling but firm. The creature's eyes softened slightly. "Very well, take this." From its body, it produced a small crystal that floated toward Remy. "It will guide you. But beware, the labyrinth is alive. It watches, it tests, and it learns." Remy took the crystal, feeling its warmth in his hands. A soft hum resonated from it, syncing with his heartbeat. He looked back at the creature. "Will you? Watch me. I am always watching," it said, and then melted back into the shadows of the valley, taking a deep breath. Remy stepped toward the labyrinth. The entrance looked like a massive archway of twisted stone and glowing vines. As soon as he passed beneath it, the air changed thick with energy, and the walls seemed to shift subtly. The path twisted and turned, never straight, as if the labyrinth itself were alive, deciding where he should go. Arzor, maybe minutes passed. Time felt different here. Every corner he turned brought new challenges, walls that seemed to close in, illusions that mirrored his fears, and whispers that tried to confuse him. "You shouldn't be here. Turn back. Danger awaits." Remy clenched his fists and kept moving. The crystal in his hand glowed brighter with every step he took in truth. Not fear. At one point, he came across a reflection of himself. But it wasn't just Hemet, was a version of Remy with hardened eyes, scarred and wary. The reflection sneered. "You think you're brave? You're just a boy playing at courage." Remy's pulse raced. He had to respond, not with words, but with action. He touched the reflection, and the crystal pulsed violently. Light exploded around him, and when his vision cleared, the reflection was gone. But the whispering had stopped. The labyrinth had acknowledged him. Finally. After what felt like an eternity, Remy reached the center of the labyrinth. There a pool of liquid light shimmered, reflecting stars and galaxies above. Floating above it was a massive ethereal eye, like a smaller version of the Sentinel. "Watching, waiting, you have come far," a voice said. It was the Sentinel's, but softer, warmer. "Few survive the labyrinth. Few have courage, and fewer have wisdom. You, Remy, have both." Remy swallowed hard. What is this place? Why am I here?" The eye shimmered. "The gate does not simply guard a world. It guards knowledge, power, and truth. You have awakened it, and now the truth chooses to reveal itself to you. But every choice has consequences. You must decide. Will you continue and embrace the unknown? Or return to the world, you know?" Remy looked at the swirling pool. The light reflected his face, but also possibilities, visions of creatures, civilizations, and wonders beyond imagining. He felt a thrill, but also fear. I want to see," he said, feeling his heartbeat echo through the world around him. "I want to know the truth." The Sentinel's eye glimmered, and the labyrinth seemed to sigh as if approving his choice. The walls shifted, opening a new path, bathed in golden light. Remy stepped forward, his hands trembling, heart pounding. But his mind sharp and determined, and deep in the shadows. The echoes of the labyrinth whispered warnings, promises, and challenges. Remy knew the journey was far from over, and that the choices ahead could change him forever. The golden path stretched before Remy, glowing under his feet like molten sunlight. Every step he took felt heavier than the last, as if the world itself was weighing him, testing his resolve. The echoes of the labyrinth lingered in his ears, soft whispers of past travelers. Some who had succeeded, many who had failed. He reached a vast chamber unlike anything he had seen so far. The walls shimmered like liquid crystal, and the ceiling arched high above, disappearing into darkness. In the center of the room stood a massive platform, floating above a swirling vortex of light and shadow. And there, standing tall and impossibly immense, was the Sentinel. Its eyes emerald green, glowing with an ancient intelligence locked onto Remy. "You have come far, child," it said. "You have faced fear, deceit, and doubt. Now you stand at the threshold of truth. Are you ready to see what lies beyond the gate?" Remy swallowed hard, his hands trembling, but he nodded. I'm ready." The Sentinel's massive hand reached out, and a beam of light connected with the crystal in Remy's hand. Instantly, visions exploded in his mind. Worlds with towering cities of crystal and metal. Skies filled with floating islands, oceans that shimmered with living light. creatures that moved with thought alone, and civilizations that had long vanished. This is the knowledge of the ancients. The sentinel's voice echoed inside his mind. They built the gate to preserve it, to protect it from those who would misuse it. But you awakened it with courage, curiosity, and wisdom. That is why it allows you to enter. Remy's head spun. All of this, it's real. Everything the story said. And more. Yes, the sentinel replied. The gate is not just a passage, is a trial. A trial to find one worthy of carrying the ancients' legacy. The platform beneath Remy began to glow, lifting him into the air. Around him, constellations of light formed patterns that seemed to whisper secrets in a language he almost understood. The sentinel followed, its enormous figure moving with an elegance that belied its size. You must make a choice, Remy, the sentinel said. Knowledge alone is not enough. The gate chooses those who will protect it, who will share its truths wisely, or who will be consumed by it. Remy's mind raced. The power, the knowledge it was tempting more than he could imagine. But the labyrinth had taught him something. Courage alone was not enough. Wisdom was the key. He thought of his village, of his family, and of the world he had known. He realized that such knowledge, if misused, could destroy everything he loved. I want to learn, he said finally, but I want to use it to help people, not to hurt them. The sentinel's eyes glowed brighter. Then you are worthy. Suddenly, the swirling vortex below the platform solidified into a doorway. Beyond it, Remy could see the landscape of his own world, rivers, forests. Mountains, but also hints of other worlds layered upon it. Hidden truths visible only to the chosen. You may return, the sentinel said. Or you may choose to explore further, to learn all that the ancients left behind. But know this, the path you choose will define the rest of your life. Once you step through, there is no turning back. Remy took a deep breath. His heart ached with longing for home, but also burned with the desire to discover more. He looked down at the swirling vortex, then back at the sentinel. I'll explore, he said. I want to understand everything. The sentinel nodded solemnly. Very well. Then begin. But remember, courage must walk with wisdom, and curiosity must never outpace compassion. As Remy stepped forward, the chamber transformed. The walls dissolved into a starlit sky, the platform stretching into infinity. He felt weightless, as if he were flying through the cosmos itself. Strange creatures, some luminous, some shadowed, glided past him. He could hear distant music tones and rhythms that seemed to resonate with his very soul. Time lost all meaning. Days, or perhaps years, passed in moments. Remy learned to navigate the shifting landscapes, to read the whispers of the stars, and to communicate with beings older than the earth itself. He discovered civilizations that had vanished, understood languages without words, and glimpsed secrets that had shaped the universe. Yet, even in this awe-inspiring journey, he never forgot the sentinel's words. Courage alone was not enough. Wisdom was the guide. Compassion was the anchor. With each choice, he grew not just in knowledge, but in understanding, empathy, and strength. One day, or what felt like a day, he returned to the chamber where the sentinel waited. You have learned much, it said. But knowledge without purpose is a shadow. Will you take what you have learned back to your world? Remy nodded. Yes, I want to share it wisely. To help, not to harm. The sentinel lowered its massive hand, and a single green crystal floated into Remy's hands. This is a seed of the ancients' knowledge, it said. Carry it well. Protect it, and let it guide those who are ready to learn. You have been chosen not for power, but for responsibility. Remy's heart swelled with awe and humility. He bowed his head. I will. I promise. With a soft hum, the chamber transformed again. The swirling vortex reappeared, pulling him gently back toward the forest where it had all begun. The colors blurred, the wind whispered, and finally, he landed on the soft forest floor of Eldoria. Just as the sun began to rise, the sealed gate stood behind him. Dormant once more, its runes dimmed and the emerald eyes closed. It was as if nothing had changed, except that Remy had changed everything inside himself. He looked around. The village seemed the same, peaceful, ordinary. But now he carried knowledge, courage, and wisdom beyond anything the villagers could imagine. And he knew that someday, when the world was ready, the secrets of the ancients would be shared, carefully and responsibly, through him. Remy smiled, feeling the warmth of the morning sun on his face.
His adventure had begun as a joke, a touch on a mysterious gate, but it had led him to a destiny far greater than he had ever dreamed. He walked home slowly, the crystal safe in his satchel, knowing that the sentinel was always watching, and that the gate would open again, not for those seeking power, but for those seeking truth. And somewhere deep in the forest, the sealed gate waited, silent, patient, eternal.